Hello everyone, my name is Nako and welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another Honkai Star Rail video. In today's video, I'm actually going to be making a tier list about the current skills which I'm using in this game. I did make one of these, I think like last time I made it was maybe like 2 years ago, top of my head. And already I'm actually planning to make another Battlecats tier list. It's just, I need to relook at the others which I have, test them and just give my opinion because, well, I haven't played with the account for too long, so I need to reuse the US and then essentially to see where in the teams they will be, and I do have a lot of so that needs to work on. But anyway, without further ado, let's essentially talk about the Honkai Star Rail. And the reason why I decided to do the Honkai Star Rail is because, well, I've played the game since, I want to say like very beginning, maybe like a day 1 or day 2. I don't know when these servers were officially up, but I definitely played like within the first week and definitely within like the first 3 days. So plus also I feel like, Honkai Star Rail is like one of these games which actually I can make it tier list because I've played a lot of characters and I feel like I can actually give my own personal opinion about these guys which I've played with, and I haven't played with all of the characters, I wouldn't be able to make a tier list about all of them. And the reason I decided to do that, not really take like other people's opinion, because I want this to be to my tier list, and if I haven't played with the character then I'm gonna put them in a tier list, simple as that. I much rather not put them in a tier list rather than just put them in the wrong tier and then I'm just gonna be fuss about it. I'm gonna be so much wrong about, I just don't wanna tell you about certain characters which I have been played. And all of these characters which I've going to be showing you guys essentially like the characters which I have used at one point in the game. Plus I also want to mention I'm going to be also in this tier is going to be characters which I actually have used in the support feature, where essentially you can use other players' characters. I was actually going to think of whether should I actually include that, but at the same time, when I'm using support I can use these characters, and as I'm going to fight boss, I can actually walk around the characters to see what the other abilities they have, outside the combat. So I ultimately can also count that, so which is why you're going to see a bunch of 5 stars which I still don't have access to, so if you're wondering about that. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's video. Starting with a B tier list, I'd say let's go with the both for Trailblazers, the one for the physical and one for the fire, and I know that I'm probably going to get flamed in the comments, get flamed because of the Fire Trailblazer, and maybe because of the Fire Trailblazer, because essentially apparently the Fire Trailblazer is actually pretty decent DPS, but this is going to be fully essentially be on my builds because I haven't actually properly built my Fire Trailblazer, and I know that that's supposed to be like one of the decent, actually not decent, but it's supposed to be like one of the good DPSs in the game, and just haven't built mine properly. But I do have to say, essentially, I mean the B tier is not bad. I wouldn't say actually none of the units which I've used are bad. So being a B tier, I think is, I know people put in the S tier, but as I said, I haven't properly built mine, and how I used both the Trailblazers, they were doing stuff, they were definitely doing some damage, but they haven't done where essentially I thought to myself, oh, they were extremely good at the job. So that's why I decided to put both of the Trailblazers down there. Physical does okay damage, and in his ultimate he can just pretty much deal damage without essentially using any of the thingamajig mana points, I want to say, in the combat, which is actually pretty good, and it's kind of fitting up with the name of the ultimate, breaking the rules of the game. I like that. Another candidate is Celine, the one with the guitar, and that's it. I think this card is actually definitely good for the AoE attacker, especially if people are vulnerable to electric. I'm gonna say electric damage. Yeah, I don't know what I was trying to say then, but electric damage. But essentially, that's all she kind of does. I mean, she's not bad at the job, but it seems that there's a good majority of the points where essentially where there's not as many enemies, or there's 2 big bosses, and well, she can pull out damage, just not enough damage to essentially be the main DPS in there. I usually, whenever I do use it, it's just and I know there's a boss, I usually just take as a secondary DPS to help out my other DPS, to kind of deal some damage while doing this specialty support. But I'd have to say, if you're talking about AoE damage at this character does a lot, and I'm using level 3 weapon, that does give me 50% more from the ultimate, but level 3 weapon, and if you're talking about essentially, character that can deal a massive damage to a lot of enemies, she's definitely good, but she is outcast by someone who's going to be in the SS tier or S tier. I actually need to relook at my tier list. And the other character which I want to talk about essentially is March 7, the other 3 characters that you just get at the start of the game, and this character does actually pretty good supporting capabilities with the shield, or the only bad thing is essentially applies shields to one ally, and that's pretty much all her support and stuff, and pretty much her other kit just pure attack, like for example the ultimate and the basic skill, which I'm not sure if I should basic skill should be attack, because I think all of the characters essentially basic skill does attack, but ultimate is just pretty much for DPS. And as I said, if you have March 7 and you have like no other shield, even if you don't have any other shield builds, I think I will say like still build March, but she's definitely, as I said, is again with the Sterling that essentially she is asked by someone who's going to be high up in this tier list. Hook the Great, which I definitely put tonight, but I'm just going to look at Hook, and here guys, Hook is probably one of my favorite characters in the game, mainly just because she just reminds me of Klee. But what if Klee actually decided to use her destructive power to good use? However, I do must say that if you talk about the DPSs, she's not the best, and it pains me to say this. Like, she's a good attacker for single target attacks, but as I said, there's someone else, as in the 5-star category, that just does what Hook tries to do, but better. I still like Hook. To be fair, she's probably going to be my character which I'm actually going to be maxing out the first in this game, but because I mean, Hook is still good. Like, if you talk about single target attack, if you build this character properly, I guess any characters so far in this actually tier list, actually they can do work. Actually, that's the thing which I do like about the Honkai Star Rail, is just essentially you can build any character you want and they will actually do work. And I don't know what is this like sound. I'm sorry about that. That's actually definitely trying to like about this game. Essentially, characters are so far seems to be like having the proper working equipment, and it does actually work. It's not essentially unlike with Dia where part of a kit is just non-existent. I do like the character for the personality, but I'm just gonna be honest. Dia is probably one of the most unfinished characters of all time. But anyway, let's move to the Captain Hook Pitch Dark the Great. As I said, she can pull out good enough damage if you build her. I mean, I have built her, and I probably do need to like rework her, but as I said, this is a character that if you put her in the team, she will do work. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving to the A tier, and starting off in the A tier, I had to go with the 5-star character Wealth, and I do must say, like, I think the category Wealth is in is actually still being experimented and has possibly been theorized that that's going to be like a meta stuff to use in the teams. And I do must say, essentially, when I do use, I think I can definitely see him actually like rising up to the meta. However, currently, the reason he's at the A tier, I mean, the A tier is still good on the S tier, but just because essentially I'm still like kind of testing, I'm still trying to see what he does, because I'm still like kind of learning what mechanics of the game are. And I feel like essentially he's one of those characters where essentially if I do learn the stuff in the game, then he's definitely going to be high in the tier list. And essentially what he does is he does seems to be like a game like debuffer, and essentially I mean when I say debuffer, it seems like putting like enemies like negative, for example, delaying the turns in, which actually is kind of good, because if you can actually have more turns before the enemy, there's a higher chance that you're going to beat them before they even have a turn in. So that's actually, I do kind of like that. So that's why Welt is in the A tier. I think there's more to him, but I just need to like learn how to use Welt. And the next character in the A tier is Geralt. I almost forgot his name. I was about to look it up and pause if we couldn't, but no, his name is Geralt. And this is a character which I will say that essentially replaces Marge as, if I was to actually compare like any character to the Genshin counterpart, this guy would be Zhongli, because he makes shields and he protects his entire team for a good while. Plus I would say essentially his energy which is actually kind of pretty decent. Like pew pew, you do if you're attacking you, but they have your ultimate back before even your shield runs out. The only bad thing which I was going to say about Geralt is essentially that his shield is an ultimate. I need to kind of walk up to it if you don't have it like fully charged in, which I mean depends on essentially what kind of battles you're facing in. That could be a detriment, but at the same time you can like farm the energy beforehand. It just happens to find that you need to shield turn 1. But overall, I would say essentially Geralt is definitely a good shielder, and definitely if you have him, build him properly. Now next up in the tier is essentially Scar, and this is the kind of one which is kind of an interesting one, as this is basically what I have actually seen. I have used this character is she does seem to be kind of a DPS depending on if people attack the character, which is kind of an interesting way actually to make a DPS character. Not them actually pulling out damage, like attacking them straight away, but have something like come attack them and then reflect that damage back, which is actually, in a way, actually is kind of an interesting way to actually build a character. This is how Dia should have been built, cough cough. Plus, there are also like a bunch of characters, for example, like March, that with the shield actually, he can actually make sure that enemies do hit your claw has more chance, because that's one of the March's passive abilities, whoever she gives you to have more chance of the attack. So essentially, if you do attack that, essentially you can pull that combo off, which is like pretty nice. And overall, I mean, I don't really have much to say. I mean, she does her work extremely good. Like if you, I mean, mainly I say extremely good, but the one which I did use, Clara, was essentially that was a cracked Clara we're talking about. So yeah, definitely worth an A tier spot. Now next up in the tier list and last character in the A tier is Bronya, and this is yet another character which I don't have my 100% chance to use of support, just like Clara. And actually, I do actually kind of like her abilities, her ultimate to give boost to your team, and also the one thing which I actually do absolutely love, with this character is essentially the skill that you can just turn transfer and give them more attack. That's just pretty much the max for Monster Legend. Turn transfer to someone and just give them attack boost. The reason I actually kind of say essentially this is kind of pretty good because there's that combos with someone that's going to be in the S tier list. Plus also just because I think just kind of like pretty good. Like if you have a main DPS ball, or something, maybe you can make them slow and you can pack up essentially all this like attack point stuff. Not attack point, you can buff them with attack point, crit rate, and not worry about them essentially having the turn in the turn out where you can just build on at full speed, turn transfer into them so that you can dish out a lot of damage. All I'm trying to say that Bronya is definitely a good support, and I think because she can also like cleanse with that turn transfer skill. I'm pretty sure I used it a few times and she was able to cleanse some debuffs, so that's just another plus. And now we are moving to the S tier, and these characters, in my opinion, are the best characters in the game currently. As I said again, I need to preface this is my opinion. And essentially the kind of first character we kind of want to talk about, which can be ordinary, that is Natasha, and this might be essentially kind of not so much controversial pick, but essentially I'm in the point of in the game where essentially I don't deal maximum damage which can pull out. So in my teams, I usually bring someone, the shielder, which is usually killed, and support that can heal me. That's Natasha. Even currently, I mean, I think I'm getting a bit better at the game essentially, where I can dish out a bit more damage, but I still bring these just in case essentially, if for example I don't kill the enemy fast enough, for example I don't crit, and if the enemy hits me, well, I can shield up with Geralt, and also I can heal with Natasha. And the reason for actually Natasha, I would say, like, kind of is better than Geralt, mainly because essentially she can heal with her ace skill, and then she can heal with the ultimate. So essentially, a bit more survivability she can provide rather than Geralt, since she can just pull out a shield that's just an ultimate. So that's kind of the reason actually I put Natasha down here, because of the survivability. That could be essentially be something that could be changing down the tier list as I get better in the game. But essentially, right now Natasha is a S tier. And also you get that from Natasha if you do certain part of the story quest. So everyone should be having her. And next in the S tier is Selena. I don't think that should be like surprising anyone. This character is busted. Not only because of how much damage she can pull out, but also because after she takes an enemy, she gets an extra turn. And I'm pretty sure one of her like passive skills gives her more damage upon that extra turn skill. As I said, this character is busted. It's basically, if you think about a single damage DPS, Sealy is by far the best one currently. And this is kind of the interesting part essentially because what I've actually seen is kind of a part of the current 5-stars that are limited, that they still seems to be kind of busting the game, and she's definitely like one of the prime examples of why essentially the limited 5-stars essentially are kind of currently game breaking. And the next character which I kind of feel like is kind of making a currently 5-star busted is Lulucia.
Okay, hello. I just want to add this essentially past like editing this video, and I pronounce this character's name wrong. It's not so apparently, but it's like Jingjuan, and those Lulucha. I don't know where Lulucha came to my head, so yeah, just a bit of like an update. Yes, I am a bit of a dumbass, and for not remembering the name of the character, please don't flame me in the comments too much.
And the reason I try to consider them bosses just pretty much just because it pretty much just adds you an extra character that cannot be damaged, but whenever they enter the turn, they just dish out a bunch of damage. And I mean, the character like this character can put out with pretty good damage AoE, but I think just for the fact that essentially you just pretty much get another character that can deal damage and is doing pretty good damage, that's just like, you pretty much just getting 2 characters in the price of 1 at this point. And the last character in the S tier list, let me actually just make sure if that is the last character, quick second. And yes, this is the last character that's going to be in the S tier, and that's going to be Bailu. And pretty much is going to be for the exact same reason why Natasha is here. And the reason I would consider him to be kind of better than Natasha, just because she's just better than Natasha. Her skill essentially can not only heal the character that you pick, but there's also that random chance that she might heal someone else. So pretty much with single skill, you can for example heal 3 of your teams if you're lucky enough. 3 of your teams and 3 of your characters. There's also her passive skills that she can raise a character if they do somehow die. You know, if you somehow, you know, for example, screw up with the healing somewhere and someone does die as well, she can just bring them back to life, like if nothing happens. And I'm pretty sure it's 100% health. I'm pretty sure. So just like, you know, in the worst case scenario, she can still like provide you some good support as bringing back a character, which I'm not sure which, if any character actually can pull that out. Yeah, we're kind of essentially like, you know, if you're lower level and you don't deal as much damage, any character that can either heal you or give you shields are pretty much a must-have. And as I said, I don't have Bailu, but from essentially actually, was able to bring other players Bible, and can I just say, she kept my team alive. When I was like testing girls, she was pretty much just doing the God's work at this. And as of right now, this is my tier list as of 1.0. Do you have any opinion on this tier list? Do you think there's a character which I put way higher or way lower? Let me know in the comments down below. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing this like tier list at every update. I'm probably thinking like maybe like every 6 updates I'll like an updated tier list or something. I don't know, again, I'm probably going to be making a Balgat's tier list at some point again. I mean, it's just like, you know, just give me some decision while I reuse the Ubers and see how they place in my tier list. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you all next time. Peace.